Hello, everyone. Uh, Hello, everyone. Good morning. Um, let's start the session. Right. Right. So this session is about AngularJS, right? This is not Angular. This is about AngularJS. We are conducting a workshop on AngularJS. So I will give you from the basic level to the important concepts so that we can design a small application. This is not a complete AngularJS course, but these sessions are enough to understand how AngularJS works, and you can even build an application with AngularJS. This is not Angular, this is AngularJS. You can build an application with AngularJS. So that is our main intention. And important, you need to know that here, this is not a complete AngularJS course. So this is a workshop, and this workshop is enough. After understanding what we discussed in workshop, you can explore by yourself and you can complete the rest of concepts by yourself, and you can easily work with AngularJS. Okay. So here we are not going to discuss about complete course of AngularJS. So this is just a workshop. So we are going to handle some important topics from basic to some important topics, which are enough, which you can use in your Java, .NET, PHP, Python as front end for designing application and presenting. Okay, right. So that will be helpful for you. And what are the prerequisites for this? So the basic prerequisites for this, if you have any doubts, I will clarify your doubts towards the end of this session. Please keep noting about your doubts, and at the end of the session, I will take your doubts. I will clarify your doubts. So you may have a lot of doubts. So we will first discuss all the concepts. Then I will get back to you, and we can discuss about your doubts and I can clarify you. Okay, right. So the prerequisite for this is actually in order to deal with AngularJS. So you need to have basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, JavaScript. If you have Bootstrap knowledge also, that's great. That's very good. So, but here we are not learning HTML, CSS or JavaScript. These are minimum required in order to learn and work with our Angular application. So this we are going to discuss. This we are going to use in our AngularJS. So technically, we need to first understand what is AngularJS, why we need AngularJS, and what are the different versions available, and how we can build an application, right? Right. You can use in your Java or .NET or PHP or Python with whatever you learned in this workshop. You can initially handle it, but generally in your real world projects, you need a lot of more concepts, na? That requires learning of complete AngularJS. So it is AngularJS, not Angular. Already I told you detailedly about that. Huh? And this is not a course. This is just a workshop to make you aware of what is AngularJS, and you can even use it. With this knowledge, you can implement in your applications. Okay, right, fine. So, but the basic prerequisites are these: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These are enough. So let's go into the concept now. Let's discuss detailedly about this. Let's go into the concept and detailedly discuss about it. I already told you if you have any doubts, so please, we will discuss about your doubts towards the end. You can lower your hands, right? So I will get back to you towards the end and we will discuss, huh? Right, that's great. Okay. So let's see technically what is AngularJS first and how it works. Actually, so to understand this, I will give a basic overview to you. Technically, you have a JavaScript. JavaScript is a language. JavaScript is a language. And we have jQuery. jQuery is a JavaScript library. jQuery is a JavaScript library. JavaScript is a language and jQuery is a library. It's a JavaScript library. Actually, so what is the purpose of JavaScript and jQuery? What is the purpose of JavaScript and jQuery? HTML, so it presents, HTML presents DOM. I think majority of you people who learned HTML and JavaScript, you know about document object model. So HTML presents everything in a hierarchical model. So HTML presents DOM and JavaScript, jQuery are used to manipulate the DOM. HTML presents a static DOM. JavaScript, jQuery are used for manipulating the DOM, document object model. I think all of you have learned about DOM and know about DOM. So JavaScript and jQuery are used for manipulating the DOM. But the problem is JavaScript, jQuery. What is the issue with JavaScript and jQuery? And what happens with JavaScript and jQuery? Let's take a simple overview. What is problem with JavaScript and jQuery? So majority of you have learned about the DOM hierarchies actually. This is generally the HTML DOM. So HTML presents everything in a DOM and JavaScript manipulates this DOM. jQuery and JavaScript both are used to manipulate the DOM. They are used for manipulating the DOM. Now, what is problem? What is problem with JavaScript and jQuery? I will give you a simple approach. What is problem in JavaScript and jQuery? Means how they work. We will discuss about that. I hope majority of you people who learned JavaScript and jQuery and HTML are aware of this DOM, right? Now, what is problem in JavaScript and jQuery? Let's see what is problem in JavaScript and jQuery. Simply, suppose you are developing an application. So you are developing an application. I'll give a simple overview for that. So we are developing an application. So web application. And we are using jQuery. It is a library. We are using jQuery, which is a library, right? First point here, the first important point is when we are developing an application with HTML and jQuery. The first important point here is technically the page loads into browser. The page loads into browser. It loads into browser. It loads the page into browser. After loading the page into browser, first you request a page, the page loads into browser. After the page loads into browser, then library also loads. Library loads into browser. Library loads into browser. Technically, library also loads into browser. Now, what is problem with the library is loaded into browser, but the major issue with the library is passive. Library is passive. That means library is not active. Passive means library is not active. Library is not active. That means the library is loaded, but it is not active. If library is not active, that means it is not taking control over application. It is not taking control over application. Then what we have to do here is generally what browser will do is browser will use events. Browser will use events to make the library active. Will use events to make the library active. I hope you have learned several events: on load, on click, on change, different events to make the library active. Then the static DOM, that means the HTML static DOM. Once the library is active, then the static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM. The static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM. That means now application starts responding. This is what generally how the application works with the JavaScript or jQuery. How the application works with JavaScript or jQuery. So you designed an application, you requested this, then the page loads into browser, and the browser loads the library, but library is not active. It is not taking control of your page. Then you need to use lot of events. By using the events, you need to make the library active. Then the application starts responding. That is what actually happens. That's what actually happens when you are dealing with JavaScript and jQuery. JavaScript or jQuery, this entire process happens. What is problem is application flow is not under the control of application. So you need additionally events to control its flow. If you tell this problem to any developer related to any technology, suppose you may be learning Java or .NET or PHP or Python, and you are learning libraries, and through the libraries you are building application. You are learning libraries and building an application. And with that knowledge, if you go to any company saying that I have done Java or .NET or PHP, I know how to build an application. I think majority of you have heard that the immediate question first they ask in you in interviews is what frameworks you have learned. What frameworks you have learned. You learned about Java. Okay. What framework have you learned? Generally, you know that Java people learn frameworks like Spring and Hibernate. PHP people will learn frameworks like Cake PHP, Code Igniter. Python people will learn frameworks like Django, Flask, and .NET people learn frameworks like ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC. So that means, what is the intention of a framework? Can any one of you tell about that? What is the intention of framework? So you learned, just you can ping a message, right? So what is the intention of framework? You learned a library and now you want a framework. What is the main intention of framework? The main intention of framework is it has a lot of things. Good, very good. So yeah, nice. So yes, yeah. The main intention of is to take control over application and control the application flow. Control the application flow. So you are learning frameworks to control the application flow. Am I right? Am I right? A framework is responsible for controlling the application flow. Control the application flow. Right. That's great. Good. 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 So that means now the point is your application. So need to be controlled with the flow. That's okay. Okay, good, good. Now, the point here is we are facing similar type of problem. We are facing similar type of problem, even client side also. We are facing similar type of problem client side. That means now, do we have any framework client side? Do we have any framework client side? So we have web application. And do we have any framework client side? And AngularJS is a framework client side. AngularJS is a framework client side. So that means JavaScript and jQuery are just library. And AngularJS is a framework. AngularJS is a framework. Usually, technically, I think many of you know that a framework is responsible for providing libraries through which you can build application as well as control the application flow. Am I right? I hope you heard about that framework. A framework is responsible for two things. It is responsible for building the application and controlling the application flow. Controlling the application flow. A framework is responsible for both. It provides a library through which you can build application, and it also handles the application flow. Now you build an application by using framework. And what happens here? The first step, same. Page loads into browser. Page loads into browser. And the next step is the framework loads into browser. Page loads into the browser, and the next step is the page framework loads into browser. Framework loads into browser. Loads into browser. Framework also loads into browser. Once the framework loads into browser, now framework is active. So framework is active. That means it takes control over application. Framework is active. It takes control over application. That means now immediately immediately the static DOM is converted into the dynamic DOM. The static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM. That means it starts responding. The static DOM converted into dynamic DOM. It starts responding. That is the difference between library, language, and framework. That's the reason now it is important for a developer to learn a framework client side. So it have the ability of both building the application and controlling the application flow. So this is important to understand for the people who came from the background of JavaScript and jQuery. Once you know JavaScript and jQuery, then you need to know about why you need AngularJS, why we need AngularJS, what is the purpose of AngularJS. So technically, AngularJS, with this point, what you understood about AngularJS, AngularJS is a, what do you call AngularJS as? AngularJS is an framework. Am I right? AngularJS is an framework. And AngularJS is an framework. Yes, good. So what is the ability of framework? What is the ability of framework? So framework have the ability to build the application as well as to control the application flow. Control the application flow, right? Okay. Now there are several, yes. There are several frameworks. Actually, before AngularJS, there are so many frameworks. Before AngularJS, there are so many frameworks. So AngularJS is a framework. AngularJS is a framework. Before AngularJS, so many frameworks came. Like we have Backbone.js. So it is also a framework. So we have like Ember.js, that is also a framework. We have Knockout.js, that's also framework. So many frameworks came. So what is the speciality of both AngularJS? Means we will not discuss all the differences between all these frameworks because the time will not be sufficient to understand all that. We will quickly just understand what are the features of AngularJS, right? What are the features of AngularJS? Yes. So technically, AngularJS, yeah. Technically, AngularJS, so AngularJS, usually referred as Angular.js actually, or Angular 1.x version, Angular 1.1x version, that is 1x version. So actually AngularJS, it is a JavaScript based open source front-end web application framework. Front-end web application framework. Actually, it is mainly maintained by Google, and a large community of developers and organizations. So AngularJS is built by Google. And a large community of developers and organizations. Built by Google, maintained by Google, and a large community of developers and organizations. Right. Now, important here is what's the basic approach here? What is the point about AngularJS is? So AngularJS came into picture because we are developing applications from several years. We are developing applications from several years. Then suddenly means web application means you know that web is there from early 1990s. Now suddenly why you need AngularJS? So when this AngularJS came to picture, actually AngularJS was designed to address the issues we were facing with the single page applications, we were facing with single page applications. AngularJS was designed to address the issues that we were facing with single page applications, to build single page applications. Actually, single page application is nothing but user stays on one page and everything gets access to that page. So that means it came with generally. So it came with an intention. So what is the intention of AngularJS actually is some important challenges are there, challenges in modern web development. That means we are developing applications from several years. For web. But some new challenges we are facing in the modern web development. Several new challenges we are facing in modern web development. What are the challenges we are facing in modern web development? What are the issues in the modern web development? Means in the current generation of web development, what are the problems we are facing? What are the issues for developer? First important is unified user experience. Unified user experience. This is one of the biggest issue. So unified user experience. What is unified user experience? I will explain you. I will show you a point. What is unified experience? Actually, what is unified experience and what is the problem in this? So we will see that. What is unified experience? For example, we have an application. So we have an application. So this application, just take an example like some Facebook. And you are accessing this application on your PC and you are accessing on mobile or a tab like device. When you are doing that, in the early days, what is the issue we faced is, in the early days, I think majority of you know that before when the smartphones came earlier, in the smartphones, we have to use a browser to open Facebook. Have you observed that? Do you do this right? So we need to open a browser. In the browser, we have to open Facebook, YouTube. I'm talking about the situation before the YouTube app came or Facebook app came into mobiles. Am I right? That means you need to access through a browser. I think majority of have an awareness of using Opera Mini like browser. Am I right? Opera Mini like browser, which was very popular at that time, right? Yeah. So that means the problem here is what happens is you are accessing this. Yes, you are accessing this on a PC, which is having more bandwidth, more screens size and resolution and everything. You are accessing on a PC. Now, when you are trying to access on a mobile, then one of the major problem when you are accessing on a mobile is having very low bandwidth. Due to that, what problem happens is mobile is having very less bandwidth. Due to that, this application is unable to reach your mobile. It is unable to reach your mobile. Then what happens now is this Facebook people, they started optimize their site in order to fit onto mobile. That means earlier, I think many of you have seen, we used m.facebook.com on a mobile browser. Have you seen that? m.gmail.com, m.youtube.com, m.facebook.com. Am I right? That means the application optimizes. Optimizes means it will shrink. It will shrink. Yes, it will shrink to fit into the device like mobile. It will shrink and fit into the device like mobile. So that means compress. It will compress and fit onto mobile. Due to that, what happens is now some features which are available on that website, when they are available on website, some features which are available, I'm watching them on PC or a laptop, then some features are there. I'm looking for the same features on mobile. I'm looking for the same features on mobile. And some of those features are missing on mobile. Have you observed that? Have you observed that? That means you are watching some applications, the applications that you watch on your PC or device. And important is when you are watching the same application on mobile, some features are missing, some options are missing. That means if anyone asks a question like why these options are missing, then usually they say that because it is mobile, these features are not available on mobile. But in the current generation, 80–90% of all our users are accessing from mobile. In that case, you should not optimize the application. You should design the application in such a way that the same experience should be across any device. That means whether he is accessing from a mobile, whether he is accessing from a PC or a laptop, user must have the same experience across any device. Am I right? It should have same experience across device, the same functionality across every device. That means application should be in the same way how I see on my PC when it goes to mobile or other devices also. This is called unified experience. UX means user experience. So unified user experience means wherever it goes, on whichever device you are using, I should have the same experience. I think majority of you people now can observe the same happening. That means how you see or use Facebook on your general PC, the same experience you are having in your mobile also. No change. Am I right? Is there any option or feature missing sometimes? It will not happen every time. It will happen only when the concept is not implemented there. Am I right? That means you will not have, yes, almost everything. Some options will be missing in some websites because they are not having an unified experience. If unified experience is not there, then obviously some features will be missing. If unified experience is there, then everything is fine. Am I right? Right. That is what actually unified experience. I hope everyone understood what is meant by unified user experience. Another important point is fluid user experience. Fluid user experience. Another challenge in the modern web development is fluid user experience. Fluid user experience means, I will show you what is a fluid user experience. Let's go to, so here I will search for Google. Yeah, here I am searching for some topic, AngularJS. Okay, I'm searching for topic. When I opened this AngularJS, I'm searching for some topic, AngularJS. It opens like this. Now I scroll down. When I scroll down, that means it has some millions of results. You can see at the top, It has some millions of results. And are all results presented in the same page? Are all results presented in the same page? All results are not presented in the same page. All results are not presented in the same page. Once you scroll down, you can see, yes. Once you scroll down, you can see some page numbers will come. Am I right? So when you scroll down, the page numbers will be at the bottom, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. Now imagine I am using the same on a mobile-like browser, how I can hit those small links at the bottom of the page. Don't you think it is difficult for a mobile user to hit those links at the bottom of the page? Right? Then usually what happens? So you need to zoom that area. Am I right? You need to zoom that area and you need to click on that. Are you facing this type of issue in your general usage of internet several times? Am I right? Right? That means you have to face this issue. Now observe the same thing. Now observe the same thing. So you go to image search of Google. Now image search of Google is having a fluid experience. In this fluid experience, some millions of images came. But interestingly, observe carefully at the bottom, you can see that when I am scrolling down, the next set of images are loading. Am I right? Have you observed everything comes onto the same page? Am I right? Right? That means now this is having a fluid experience. Understood? This is having a fluid experience. I hope now you have observed that your Facebook, your Gmails are not earlier like, they are not like early days. So you can see that in early days, what you have to do is, after watching 50 mails, you have to say next 50, previous 50. Even in your Facebook, you say next post, previous post. Am I right? You have to say next post, previous post. Now you can observe your Facebook that when you scroll down, then it will keep on loading the post. And one more interesting part is when it is loading the new details, you can observe when it is loading the new details, the entire page is not loaded. Only the new details are updated to your page. Am I right? Entire page is not loaded. Only a specific portion, that particular part is loaded into your page. This is called fluid experience. That means now in the modern web development, you cannot go with your traditional process. So that means now for future generation, we need applications in a more better way. That means we need a unified experience. You need a fluid experience. So I hope everyone understood what is fluid experience and what is unified experience. Everyone clear about that? Right? Yes, everyone clear about this, right? That's great, good, right? Now, another important point is, another challenge is loosely coupled and extensible. Loosely coupled and extensible is another challenge for the developers. Loosely coupled and extensible is nothing but, for example, so what is that loosely coupled and extensible? For example, what is the point here is loosely coupled and extensible means, so we developed an application and we given this application to our client. So he installed this application on his mobile or some device. He installed that application on mobile or some device. That means that application is installed here. Now, After a few days, you have made some changes into the application. That means some new features, some new features are added into application. Some new features are added into that application. New features are added into application. Now, what do you say? How we can update that new features into this installed application? Will you ask them to reinstall again that application? Will you ask them to reinstall the application again? We cannot ask them to reinstall the application again. Will you release a new version of that software? Will you release a new version of that software again for the new features and ask them to install that new version? No, we cannot ask that also, right? We cannot ask that also. But now what should happen is without reinstalling the application, remember, even user should need not to stop the application. If he kept the application for few seconds idle, automatically the new details are pushed into that application. Am I right? New features are pushed into application. That means user needs to wait for few seconds, keep that application idle for few seconds. Automatically the new features are pushed into it. Am I right? That means without reinstalling the application, without removing the application. So application is there, it is running. So you no need to even stop the application. I think you know that you no need to even stop the application. You just need to keep the application. You just need to keep the application. So idle for few seconds, it will push the new details into it, right? Yeah. This type of architecture is called loosely coupled and extensible. This type of architecture is called loosely coupled and extensible. That is loosely coupled and extensible architecture. So that is what actually, that means it is having simplified deployment and upgrading. Simplified deployment and upgrading. Simplified deployment and upgrading. Simplified deployment and upgrade. Deployment also. So you might have observed that after installing the application, generally in early days, after installing the application, we have to restart our device. Am I right? After installing the application, we have to restart our device. Am I right? We have to restart the device. Why we have to restart the device? Because the new files that you have installed, those are not copied into the registry of operating system. Then operating system cannot run that application until or unless it is in the registry. And usually registry will be accepting the new files at the time of loading the operating system. That is the reason you have to restart your device every time. Understood? I hope many of you are aware of that. Am I right? But now observe your mobile applications or other applications that you are installing. Observe. Yes, observe that. Observe now, observe once you install the application. So it is ready to open and run. Am I right? You don't need to restart your device. Am I right? That means just install, open. There are no even step-by-step process like wizards, like next. You don't need to follow any steps. There are only two steps, single step installation, install, open. Am I right? Just it will additionally ask, allow access to your contacts, allow access to your images, allow access to some other content. Right? That is what actually. So simplified deployment and upgrading. These are all the challenges in our latest web development. These are all the challenges that we are facing in the recent days of web development. That means current generation have to address all these issues. Current generation have to address all these issues. These are all the problems that we are facing. These are all the problems that we are facing. The current generation have to face these issues. Now, what is solution for this? So what is solution for this? What is solution? So the solution for this is better. So the solution for this is better build single page applications. Better build single page applications. Single page applications have the nature of whatever topics we discussed. That means single page applications are having unified user experience. Single page applications have fluid experience. Single page applications have loosely coupled and extensible. Single page applications are have simplified deployment and upgrade process. So that means instead of traditional, right? Traditional, instead of traditional web applications, better use single page application, build single page applications. Single page applications will have all these abilities. Now, very important is this a new concept? Actually, single page application is not a new concept. I think many of you know that. So Twitter, you know Twitter, many people you know that Twitter, right? Many people know Twitter, and you know all Twitter, and Twitter is a single page application. So it is a single page application. It have a single page application nature, single page application from the beginning of Twitter. In the first day of Twitter, it is a single page application. You heard, those are the world's first APIs actually, that is Twitter. And you heard about eBay. Have you heard about eBay shopping? So I think you have seen that mobile based shopping site means the first shopping site that came into is eBay like applications. eBay is the first API that came into the mobiles. After that, other applications came, right? It is a shopping site, right? So that means single page applications are not new for us. Single page applications are already there. They are not new for us. But how to build these single page applications? Single page applications are already there. Now they are trending. Single page applications are already there, but now they are trending. Now they are trending because now we want every application as a single page application. That means single page application is not a new concept. It is already there. But our developers were not much concentrating on this type of application in the early days. But now it became mandatory. These days now we need a single page application. So actually now we are in the generation of progressive web application. Now we are in the generation of progressive web application. We are in the generation of progressive web application. Progressive web application, now we are in the generation of progressive web application. Progressive web application means, I will show you. A progressive web application means it is having app-like experience in the browser. That means in the browser, it will not have an experience like a web page. You will have an app-like experience in the browser. App-like experience in the browser. That is what the advantage of this progressive web application. I will show you an example. For example, I think many of you seen, suppose photopia.com. This is a sample website I'm opening here, Photopia. And see, this is online Photoshop. And I selected, see, a new project. Okay, create. A new project is created. Now this is a website. This is a web application. It is a web application. Is it looking like a page or is it looking like an application? Is it like a page or an application? Is it like a page or an application? Means, is it any like next page, previous page, anything is there here? That means you have an app-like experience. It is having an app-like experience in the browser. That means you see these days when you are using Facebook. So yeah, when you are using Facebook, when you are using Twitter, when you are using Gmail, you will have app-like experience. That means how you use an app in your mobile, the same experience you will feel with this also. For example, you have seen like Netflix-like applications, So in your mobile, in your Windows, am I right? That means they will not look like a page. They will look like an app-like experience, application. This is what progressive web applications are. We call them as progressive web applications. Now the point here is, so solution you understood. This is the solution. So better build single page application. Now the answer is how to build single page applications. How to build single page applications. Now the another point comes is, can I use JavaScript and jQuery to build single page applications? That is the question. Can I use JavaScript and jQuery to build single page applications? So can I use JavaScript and jQuery to build single page applications? The answer is yes. You can build single page applications by using JavaScript and jQuery. Then obviously the question comes, then what is problem with JavaScript and jQuery? What is problem with JavaScript? What is problem with JavaScript and jQuery? What is the problem with JavaScript and jQuery? What is the problem with JavaScript and jQuery? Why you are going with new technologies? Why you are not continuing with JavaScript and jQuery? That means you can build single page application with JavaScript and jQuery. But what is problem with JavaScript and jQuery? What are the issues with JavaScript and jQuery? So the issues with JavaScript and jQuery is JavaScript, jQuery enough. So because they are enough to build an application, single page application. So then what is problem with JavaScript and jQuery is lot of DOM manipulations. JavaScript jQuery requires lot of DOM manipulations, lot of references and coding. So heavy application is very heavy. JavaScript and jQuery deals with a lot of DOM manipulation. So data binding related issues. That means how you will access the data from one location and you bind the data to another location. That means you have to use a lot of coding. Just one simple example I will show you. So you don't need to worry about what I am writing here. Just observe the concept. So just see the point here. So what is problem with JavaScript and jQuery? What is the problem with JavaScript and jQuery? Just I will give you a simple point here. Just observe the concept here. I'm showing you a simple application for you just to make you understand what is the problem there, right? Just we will see that. Yeah. So I'm selecting here. Yeah. See, I'm creating one simple page for you to understand the issues with JavaScript and jQuery. So to understand issue with JavaScript and jQuery, I'm adding a simple page here. Just observe the concept. It's enough to understand, right? I'm adding a simple, a new file. I'm adding a new file. So demo1.html. Okay. And here in the head section, we are linking in the head section. So we are defining script. I have some jQuery in this. I'm linking jQuery. Script source is equal to. So I have node modules. So that means from the node modules, we will import this, right? Script. Okay. And here I'm adding source is equal to. So // so node underscore modules. In the node modules, so we have jQuery. Yeah, in the jQuery dist jQuery.js. So I have some jQuery here, and we have in the body section, we have a name and we have text box. Input type is equal to text and ID is equal to txt name. Okay. And we need to print here a span. In a span, we need to display a message, hello, and that name. That means when user is typing some text inside the text box, I need to display inside this span, inside the span. Span is having an ID as MSG. Generally in jQuery, how we do that, just I am writing a script. I am writing a function. That means on document ready. On document ready, we are collecting here $#msg.html. Inside that we are accessing #txt so name.val. That means its value is collected and displayed. That means the text box value is collected and displayed here. But observe carefully here. I am running this. So our intention is to get the data and display the data and handle the data. Our intention is to get, display, and handle the data. And see here, I'm typing something here. It's not updated there. It's not updated here. Why? Because you need to define on which event it has to update. That means what we have to do is we have to write an event also for that. That means #txt name. I think you know we have a key up event. Am I right? Key up is a function. So key up is a function. So on key up, what should happen is this should happen. That means you need events, you need lot of references. JavaScript jQuery depends on lot. If it is on JavaScript, you know, get element by ID, get element by name, get element by tag name. Lot of references are required, and lot of events are required. And when I run this, you can see that when I run this and I type something here, and it is updating fine. This is what actually jQuery, JavaScript are involved with. jQuery and JavaScript are involved with. That means lot of DOM manipulations are required. Lot of references are required. So you have to select by tag name, select by name, select by class name. You have to, data binding requires events, identifying the data binded on that event and update the data. Lot of references, lot of coding. jQuery reduce the set of coding you have to write, but you need lot of coding. Data binding related issues. So another important, we have navigation issues. Navigation issues are nothing but generally JavaScript and jQuery will give access to DOM and BOM, browser object model. That means you can use a location object. So you can use a history object, and you are developing a single page application. Generally, you have observed that even today also several applications have that problem. When a transaction is going on, many applications will warn you saying that please don't push back button. Have you observed that? Don't push back button, don't reload the page, right? Don't push back button, don't reload the page. These type of regular points are given to you. That means they say that don't push back button. Yes, while payment is happening, you can observe that. That means there is a threat that when the transaction is going on, user can push the back button. That means JavaScript and jQuery allows you to go back, go forward. This is a big problem, especially when you are designing single page application. In single page application, everything comes and gets access from one page. Then if user clicks the back button, it will completely stop the application. Am I right? There is no back at all. So JavaScript, jQuery have all these issues with, they have all the issues with the navigation. These are all the challenges for the developers with JavaScript and jQuery. Then what is the solution? The solution is very simple. What is the solution? Solution is better use a framework. Framework, actually, what is the ability is, so AngularJS or other type of frameworks can implement the frameworks like MVC, MVVM, like architectures inside them. Client-side MVC and client-side MVVM architectures. which makes no DOM manipulations, no more DOM references required here. So by using this architecture of MVC and MVVM, we can address all these issues. And very important is actually not only navigation issues, they are hard to test. Extensibility issues will come, hard to test. These are all the issues we are facing with JavaScript and jQuery. Then better use a framework. What is the specialty of framework? I will show you the same problem. Means I will show you the same thing in a framework. But for that, we need to install the framework. That means I'm installing a framework. npm install Angular. Okay. I'm installing AngularJS. Don't worry. How to install AngularJS? How do we set up for AngularJS? All these points we are going to learn. Today we are just discussing about what is the necessity of Angular. Right? Today we are discussing what is the necessity of AngularJS. What is the purpose of AngularJS? We are going to practically implement and use it now. So I will tell you how to install and everything. Currently, Angular is ready. Okay, AngularJS is ready. Now I am using demo2.html. This time I am linking here in the head section. We are linking the framework. Script source is equal to. So I have that framework installed into Angular. Yeah, Angular.js. I have installed this framework. Now I have the body section. Inside the body section, so your name. Okay, there is a text box. Input type is equal to text. In the next line, so hi. And I need to display that message here. And you can see that this is Angular is taking control of the body section by using a simple directive here. Okay, now here you can see that when you are extending this here, so you can see now whatever I type inside this, it should be displayed here. I am not using any DOM references. I am not using any DOM references or DOM manipulations. What I am doing here, I am using the architectures like MVC or MVVM. You can see that this is a model. And its name is username. This is where I will explain what is model and all. Don't worry about that. Just observe the difference between the library, language, and framework. That is only the point. These all things you will understand, learn. That's what I'm going to discuss in this workshop. And ng model username. And here I want to display that username. Get the data from that, and you just display the data here. Am I writing any DOM manipulations here? Are there any events defined here? Are there any DOM manipulations here? Are there any events defined here? No. Now see what happens now. I will run this and I type here some name, and automatically that name should come here. So that means it should take control of that application and it should display that here. That means it should take control, ng app. So that is app, right? So here I have to use ng app. And so it has to take control over that application and it has to handle that application. Now we are not writing. You need to understand so many things for this. This is, I just given an overview. That means it has to get the data and display the data and handle the data. So what is this ng app? What is this ng model? You will understand about that. But the data from the model have to come and the data should be updated here. The framework need to be updated here. So usually what happens is, this all you will understand later, how to work and how do we deal with this, right? As of now, you need to understand that less DOM manipulations are there. That means we don't need any DOM manipulations. Here you can see the source. So you can see the source. This is the source we have written. Actually, in our HTML, we have very small logic defined here. And this has injected all the concept here. Whatever is there, it is injected here. And whatever I am typing here, you can see it is working fine. It is working fine. I don't need any references here. Understood? I don't need any references. Are there any events written here? No events written here. There are no events written here. It will take control of your application. No DOM manipulations defined here. And you can see that it is directly handling the interaction. Means I am typing here and it is working. Now that means this looks more better than your JavaScript and jQuery. Am I right? Am I right? That means I'm launching this and I'm executing this. That looks more better with JavaScript and jQuery. Looks more better with JavaScript and jQuery than JavaScript and jQuery. Right? I hope you understood that point. Clear? So that means JavaScript and jQuery have all these issues. They have all these issues. But AngularJS can handle all this in a simple way. That means what is the specialty of AngularJS? What is the specialty of AngularJS? It is a framework. It uses and implements the architecture. It is providing a good environment for building. It is providing a good environment for building applications. So especially single page applications. I hope everyone understood what is AngularJS. So how you define finally AngularJS? AngularJS is an framework. And what is the intention of AngularJS? But AngularJS also have several drawbacks. AngularJS have several issues. That's the reason. AngularJS was originally introduced in 2010. And its version 1x version, and the latest version is 1.8.0. That is the latest version, and it is having long-term support. So 1.8 version with long-term support. So AngularJS latest version, it released on 1 June 2020. So it is very latest version. So AngularJS is not finished. AngularJS is not stopped. It is having long-term support, and very recent release happened. You can visit the official website. AngularJS.org. This is the official website of AngularJS. And you can see that AngularJS is now in long-term support. And the latest version of AngularJS. So when we go here, you can see 1.8.0 is the latest version of AngularJS. But AngularJS, one of the major issue with AngularJS is, what are the problems in AngularJS? AngularJS issues is it is JavaScript based. Another issue, JavaScript based means, you know that JavaScript is not a strongly typed language. Am I right? JavaScript is not a strongly typed language. It is not implicitly strictly typed. So it is not strictly typed. So strongly typed, explicitly you have to make it strictly typed. So JavaScript have compatibility issues. Issues are there. So another problem with AngularJS is AngularJS uses legacy library. Legacy library means entire library is loaded even to handle a simple interaction. Entire library is loaded even to handle a simple interaction. That is one of the problem with AngularJS. That means it is heavy. So and it is slow in rendering. All these are the technical issues that we are facing with the AngularJS. All these are technical issues we are facing with AngularJS. And but still AngularJS is in use. So several MNCs, their projects are in AngularJS. JavaScript based people will use AngularJS. And people who want to migrate to the new, that is Angular, it is TypeScript based, and it has some advantages over AngularJS that we are not discussing here. So we are just discussing about what are the problems in AngularJS. That's the reason Google have developed a new alternative for AngularJS, not replacement. It is not replacement. You can see officially Google says that we have a long-term support for this. Officially it is saying that we have a long-term support for this. That means nobody can say that it is gone, because Google officially says that it is having a long-term support, because still several applications of even Google also running in AngularJS. AngularJS is being used by Google Apps by itself. They cannot simply stop this because already hundreds, thousands of apps are running on AngularJS. So several projects are still working with AngularJS. So Angular is an alternative for AngularJS, not a replacement, or don't think that it is advanced. If it is advanced, how come latest version will be AngularJS, latest version will be on July 2020, right? That is the most thing we have to know. So then how to install this AngularJS, how to work with AngularJS, what are the components of AngularJS, how do we build application with AngularJS? These are the basic points we need to learn. So that topic we will discuss in tomorrow's session. Hope everyone is clear. This workshop will go on 3 days, right? And these 3 days, first day we discussed the basic overview. The basic overview of why we need AngularJS. What is AngularJS? What is difference between JavaScript, jQuery and AngularJS? I hope everyone understood this, clear with all these topics, right? Now, how to install AngularJS? How do we work with AngularJS? How we can build application with AngularJS? I will give you a simple application so that you can even practically start working with it also. You can practically start working with it also, right? I will give an overview up to that point. That means 3 days this workshop will go on, 3 days this workshop will go on, and I will give you a complete introduction up to how to build an application, right? Build an application, right? Now here one more point is, many people have a doubt why it is called Angular. Why it is called Angular? Because one of the main concept about Angular is AngularJS makes HTML more declarative. It makes HTML more declarative and dynamic. You have seen in our example, have you observed in this example where I showed you? So am I writing any function? We are not writing any function. Right? What we are doing, we are extending HTML within the Angular. This functionality is defined. This is Angular bracket now. Am I right? That is Angular brace. Am I right? Tag is written in Angular brace. Am I right? The tag is written in Angular. And in the Angular, you are adding a simple attribute which is making it dynamic. Am I right? That means in the background, it is using some script which is making this element dynamic. This static element is made into a dynamic element just by using this attribute. That means the AngularJS, why it is called AngularJS? Because it is defined in Angular, and intention is to make this static DOM element into dynamic. Extend HTML, make the HTML more declarative. That means internally it is using script. Of course, it is using script. That's what AngularJS is now. It is using script in the background, but you don't need to write the script. That script is imported into this Angular, and that script is used in this Angular. Am I right? That is the reason it's named as Angular. It's named as Angular. That is the intention of Angular. Intention of Angular, actually. That is the point, why it is called Angular, right? I hope everyone is clear and everyone understood this. Everyone clear and everyone understood this. I hope everyone is clear with these concepts, right? Then in tomorrow's session, we will learn how to install Angular, how to install AngularJS, and how do we create an application and how do we work with the application, right? Tomorrow, we will continue with this session. I hope you understood all this concept, right? And in tomorrow's session, we will continue with this. And tomorrow we are going to build an application. I will show you practically everything step by step. Okay, right. Okay then, right. Now you have any doubts, you can get back to me the doubts, right? You can, I will get back to you. Have any doubts? I already told you this is an workshop, right? This is an workshop, not an Angular course. In 3 days, you cannot finish complete topics, na? All topics. That is a reasonable thing you need to understand. Na? There are so many differences between Angular and AngularJS, right? That is the point generally people have to learn when they are dealing with Angular. Already, I don't need to explain that here, that you will understand later. Huh? Yes, Sushri, any doubts? This is not any paid course, right? This is a free workshop for 3 days on AngularJS. Huh? Already told you. So it is called Angular because it is extending HTML. It is extending HTML. You can simply say that it makes the HTML dynamic, extending HTML. Already we have the latest version, right? 1.8 is the latest version. 1.8 is the latest version. And I will provide a soft copy for this after the workshop. You can go through that. I will provide an entire soft copy. Huh? I will provide an entire soft copy. Yeah, it is not similar to HTML and CSS, right? It is to make HTML and CSS dynamic. It is like your JavaScript and jQuery library. This is a framework. Of course, this is a workshop, right, Rajshekhar? Already I told you. This is a workshop. Then here we have to discuss some important basic things of AngularJS.